Okay, this is a webinar on classroom management, effective teaching strategies, and discipline across cultures. I am Mr. Jason Hernandez, mathematics teacher here in Los Alamitos Middle School, Grants, New Mexico, USA. I think that Miss Rihanna May Elimanco is still having problem joining us. So I'd like to welcome everyone to this webinar. Um, Today we have an exciting program ahead, focusing on essential of education, teaching strategies, discipline, and inclusion in culturally diverse classrooms. So let's start first with the presentation of participants. We have our guests, Dr. John Kongsvik, Mr. Joey Trujillo, Mr. R.P. Castellone. We also have the other teachers from USA, Miss Grace de los Reyes, Antonio Batulat III, and Miss Gurley Valle. We have also our teachers from Thailand and Lemery District teachers from the Philippines. Those are from Lemery Senior High School and Governor Feliciano Leviste Memorial National High School. We also have with us some Lemery Senior High School students who are on education career path, and also education students from Agoncillo College Incorporated. So our theme for today is cultivating inclusivity in education. We'll be exploring teaching strategies, cross-cultural classroom discipline, and the promotion of inclusive education. So we want this to be an interactive experience for you. You may use the Q&A feature to submit your questions later. We'll address as many as possible during our interactive Q&A session after the talk of our guests. Before we proceed to our guest number one, or the first guest, we have this Project Kalinga. In partnership with Project Kalinga is this Professional Learners Network. And to give an overview of Professional Learners Network, it is a platform, and we're five in this. We have Miss Grace de los Reyes, Antonio Batulat III, Rihanna May Elemanco, Jason Hernandez, and Girly Valle. We are exchange visitor program participants here in New Mexico, USA. This Professional Learners Network is a dynamic and inclusive platform designed to connect educators from the Philippines, Thailand, and the United States of America. This network serves as a vibrant virtual community where teachers come together to collaboratively enhance their professional growth, share valuable insights, and contribute to the collective improvement of education. It is a thriving community where educators come together to learn, share, and grow, ultimately contributing to the advancement of education on a global scale. These are the goals of Professional Learners Network. We have facilitate cross-cultural collaboration, resource sharing, we have professional development, exchange of best practices, where we encourage teachers to share their best practices in the classroom, including successful teaching methods, innovative approaches to learning, and effective classroom management or classroom strategies. We have also networking opportunities, facilitate networking events, both virtual and when possible in person, to build strong professional relationships among educators, potentially leading to collaborative projects or exchanges. By pursuing these goals, the Professional Learners Network can contribute to the professional growth and effectiveness of educators in the Philippines, Thailand, and United States. fostering a global community dedicated to excellence in education. Um, we have also Mr. Jake Mark Aricalde. He is the proponent of Project Kalinga. He is the subject group coordinator of Humanities and Social Sciences and the chairman of Project Kalinga at the same time. Mr. Jake Mark Aricalde, are you here with us?
Well, Mr. Jake Mark can't make it, but I can
Okay,
present the project
okay, Miss
overview.
Rihanna, you're here.
Oh yes, yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
Okay. So I would like to present Project Kalinga. So in here, so Project Kalinga means keeping and accommodating learners in inclusive education through nurturance, growth, and acceptance. So this is Mr. Jake Mark Ricalde is our proponent. Basically, we're based here in the Philippines, and Kalinga is a Filipino term which means support or care. And for our objectives, the objectives are number one, to promote education for all or EFA, learners regardless of sex, disability, culture, ability, age, ethnicity, social class, religious beliefs, and other characteristics. Second, to respond to the diverse needs of learners. We also have different services that are offered to our students. First, we have SPED related seminar webinars for teachers and learners, just like what we're doing now. Our second service is free diagnosis and assessment. Third, we have regular parent-teacher conference. Fourth, we have constant monitoring, guidance, and counseling office. Fifth, we have development of appropriate modules and activities. And sixth, we have an assignment of inclusive education coordinators. And that's it for our project, sir.
Yes, thank you, Miss Rihanna. So we are very lucky today because with us is our first guest. Um, let's introduce our first guest here. We have Mr. John Kangsvik. He is our trainer in SIOP. He is an accomplished master education consultant who has worked throughout the world helping educational institutions who serve English learners. Through a collaborative process, he creates experiential professional development programs that catalyze teacher development and scaffold students into greater learning outcomes. He has strong communication skills, a high degree of intercultural awareness, and is fluent in 4 languages. He motivates educators to continually strive for improvement in their methodologies through the cultivation of conscious competence. He is an education leader with a demonstrated history of developing partnerships, creating innovative programs, and fostering individual and team talent. He especially enjoys building bridges from one cultural background to another. Over the course of his career, he has lived and worked in more than 20 countries and 5 continents and speak 5 languages. He is the director of Tissot Trainers Incorporated. He has recently patented an invention that encourages students and teachers to stay engaged in the learning process. He is a SIOP trainer. He examines the sheltered instruction observation protocol and explores strategies and techniques teachers can use to support all learners in the classroom. Everyone, let's welcome our first guest, Mr. John Kongsvik.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. How are you? Good to see everybody.
Great,
Thanks for
sir.
inviting me here. Can you hear
Good
me okay?
evening,
We're
sir.
great. We're
You can
doing
hear me?
great, and you
Yes,
can
Good.
we
hear
can
you
hear you.
well.
Oh,
Sorry about
wonderful,
the technical.
wonderful. Oh, that's great. I'm just getting off a Zoom meeting, and for some reason I was having trouble with my audio here, but my AirPods, I think, saved the day. I'm happy to be here. Um, Jason asked me to come for a little bit, and speak with you about the topic of his workshop. So I'm happy to share a little time with you and discuss, maybe in an experiential manner, what it really means to set our students up for success, and what it really means when you look at the intersection between teaching, learning, classroom management, and experiential engagement of our students. So what I wanted to do, and it's been a while since I've used Google Meet, so you'll excuse me for just a minute while I refresh my memory with this. But what I wanted to do was show you through a little activity, a little warm up, a technique that can be really powerful in capturing that connection between teaching, learning, classroom management, and helping students foster a little more responsibility, a little more autonomy, and most importantly, teachers, producing language. So check this out here. Let me present this. Allowed to share window, allowed to share screen. Good, good, good. Alrighty. Let me see if this is even going to work right here. Hold on a second, teachers. Safari settings. Okay, gotcha. Just 1 second while I change my Safari settings here. There we are. Oh no, come here. Here we go. Hold on. I think I may have to restart here. Hopefully not. Okay. All righty. All right, teacher. So I'm going to do it without sharing a screen right now because I don't know what's happening with my computer. But we're going to do this. A couple of things here, and I believe I have the capability to do this. Yeah. So what I want to do is I want to play a little game with you, and this game is going to require two things. The first thing that I'm going to do is stick this set of questions in chat. There's 6. Okay. So here comes the first 5 questions. Some reason it's not let me send 10. And I'm going to send you as well this right here, which is the other 5. So open up chat and give me a 2 thumbs up if you see those questions that I'm sticking in chat right there. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to, now if we were in the face-to-face classroom, teachers, I might do this. I might put my students in pairs and give each student a little 10-sided die. There's 10 questions. I've got this 10-sided die, but what we're going to use right now, and I'll ask Jason to do it. Jason, since I'm having trouble sharing the screen, can you share your screen and get on Google Chrome and type in roll die, which will bring up some digital dice for us.
Yes. Hold on.
Thank you.
Share.
And my fellow educators, you could do the same thing. You could get onto Google Chrome and type in roll die. And these digital die will come up. This is what we're going to be using to model how it might look like in the classroom.
Is it this one, Dr. John?
Let's see. You're on Safari, aren't you? Yeah, I think that'll work though. Sure. So all you have to do is change for us, Jason, the 6 to a 10.
The 6. One,
to a 10. You see where it says one die, 6-sided?
this one?
Change it to
10-sided?
10-sided. Exactly. Perfect. So this is what we're going to do. And by the way, if you do have Google Chrome and you type in roll die, these die will show up. If you have another browser, you'll see right here, any one will do. So what Jason's going to do is he is going to roll the die. So I guess, yeah, click start and see what happened. No, I don't think you want to do that, Jason. For some reason, that might not have been the correct link.
Okay, let me go back to...
Yeah, go back for just a second. Or in fact, we could do this. Let me do something else, if you don't mind. Teachers, I'm going to do this. It'll just take us a couple of minutes, but I think it'll benefit you. I'm going to, and Jason, is this okay if I suggest this? I'm having some serious computer problems, so I'm thinking the best way to get through it is, would you mind if I sent everybody a link and we, no, you're recording this, aren't you? Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm
was gonna
working
say-
with 2 computers, so I can probably like do that.
Fabulous. Yes. So 10-sided die. I was going to suggest one thing that we can do if you want is we can move over to Zoom. I can send you a link and I can demonstrate this technique and we can come back to Google Meet and talk about it.
Okay. Link.
You want to try that? Or would you like to, if you've got a 10, click in 10, roll 10-sided die. Let me send you the link right here. See if this will work. Roll die. Cool. And here it is right here. Let me give you this link to roll the die and see if this works. Yeah, for some reason on Safari, it'll bring up a lot of messy little things, but Google, for some reason, Chrome comes right to the dice. I stuck the link in chat, folks. You should be able to open it and give me a 2 thumbs up if you see a set of dice. Right. Jason, you can try it too. Try to copy that link I put in chat and try to paste it right into the browser and see if it gets the if the digital dice appear. Perfect. All right. We're in. Okay, so Jason, click on the 10. If you click on the 6-sided die that says a 3, if you click on it, it'll disappear. Click on the 10.
10.
10 is a 10-sided die, and this is what we're going to do. I'm going to put you folks into a breakout room for a moment. This is going to model, actually, what I would do in the classroom, which is I would pair my students off after I model, which I do in a moment, and this is what's going to happen. So I'm going to roll the die, and I get a 10, and let's say Josephine, unmute for a second. Josephine and I are partners. I'm going to ask Josephine question number 10. So I say, hey, Josephine, if you had to listen to only one song for the rest of your life, what song would you listen to and why? Give me the answer, Josephine. Oh, she might be busy, perhaps.
Yeah.
So let's see. Jake, you answer it for us. Jake, if you had to listen to one song for the rest of your life, what would you listen to and why? Let me see if I could see other people. All right. Well, I'll try it with my buddy Jason. Jason, you answer the question for us. If you had to listen to only one song for the rest of your life, What song would you listen to and why?
Um, Warrior is a Child. That's the only song that came up to my mind.
Okay, no problem. Now Jason's going to roll the die. He's going to
Okay.
ask me a question that arises. Great. He's going to ask me the same question. So ask me the question.
Okay, if you're gonna listen to a song for the rest of your life, Mr. John, what song would it be and why?
Well, it would be my 7-year-old daughter's favorite song. It's a mermaid pool party because I hear it 100 times a day. Even though I don't like it, I sing it to myself in the shower. All right, teachers, this is what we're going to do. Antonio, I'm going to put you into groups with a partner. Folks in chat or somehow let me know if you have that Google Die page up on Google Chrome. The link is in chat. And I think all I have to do here is click on. All right, so Jason, click on that activity on the bottom right. Click on activity, click on breakout rooms. We're 29 people. And you can put where it says how many breakout rooms do you want to have. It could be a pair, so you might want to use 15 breakout rooms. If there are some people that are busy, maybe we put 3 people in a room, which would be about 10 breakout rooms. And all we're going to do for a couple of minutes, teachers, is we're going to go to breakout rooms and practice this activity. You've got the questions, you've got the die. Let's try it out, and we'll talk about the benefit of doing something like this with our students.
How many breakout rooms did you say, Mr. John?
I think if we do it with pairs, it's going to be 13 breakout rooms. There'll be 3 in one and 2 in all of the rest.
So I click here.
Mm-hmm.
13.
And there's even a way to put a timer on it in Google Meet. So you could put a timer like 3 minutes or something like that. And we can play this little game for 3 minutes, do this activity, and we can go back and talk about it afterwards.
Okay.
All right, great. Let's do it up.
I think we're all back.
Huh. Perfect. Okay. Teachers, so let's do this. I know that was just a couple of minutes. I had a chance to ask and answer a few questions with my partner. If you're able to unmute and respond, tell me if you were able to do it. You can also, teachers, take a moment and chat out if you were able to do it as well. And here's my question to ask you, which is this right here. Why would I have my students do something like that? What's the difference between me asking an individual student in class, Edric, asking him any question, and getting my students into groups or into pairs? What's the benefit of that? I don't know many Filipino students who are Filipino people who are shy about talking. So this is amazing to me. Okay, all right. It saves time.
Yeah, it saves time. Yeah, saves time.
Yeah, that's right, Edric. It increases engagement. Students are far more interested in speaking with one another than they are us. I know that our teachers taught us in a very old style way. Today, especially today, if you're looking to boost your students' production, I think there are three things that are critical, teachers, for every educator to consider, which is this right here. It has everything to do with Jason's topic. How do I connect my students to the language, to the content, and to one another? Now, I'm using three things to support this. The first thing I'm doing is I'm giving my students the questions. What a safe way to do it. What a powerful way for me to scaffold my students into asking and answering the questions themselves. The second thing that I'm doing to support my students, and I'm going to ask you a question on this. I don't know why my microphone is no longer working. Is this, or my video camera, is why am I using, teachers, a die? Somebody unmute and tell me what the benefit of using dice is, or put out in chat your idea of why we would use a die. Antonio, you want to help us out?
Oh,
Why
I can,
use
I
a
can, I
die?
can share. Maybe
Yes.
it's maybe because you can randomly select the questions.
Yeah. It is so important, teachers, to consider this. And I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to answer with numbers, whether you're going to show me with your fingers if you turn your cameras on, or whether you chat it out. Here's a question for you. Psychologists have looked at, Edric, whether or not human beings practice what they need to practice to get better at something, or do we practice what we are already good at? So if you think human beings practice what they need to practice, show me one finger or type the number one. If you think human beings practice what they are already good at, show me two fingers. All right, yes, exactly. Psychologists have discovered that most human beings, maybe not you, but most human beings, teachers, practice what they are only good at. Which means if I'm trying to help my students learn new vocabulary, but they're more comfortable with the vocabulary they have, this is the quintessential problem we have as educators. How do I help them practice what is new? One thing is randomness. The more random I make it, the more encouraged you are to practice. The third ingredient that I'm using, teachers, is I'm making it into a game. I'm, to use this verb, gamifying this by giving you a die. Now, two things come to mind. Number one, especially in the face-to-face classroom, having a die in my hand is kind of fun. Who doesn't like rolling dice? And it also gives me something really tactile to do, teachers. So we did this with a little warm-up, right? Asking silly little questions like, if you could transform into a superhero, what would you change into and why? But teachers, think about this for a moment. The benefit for me, I just figured out how. I can get my camera back, all right. The benefit for me of doing this, in addition to that, is I allow my students to connect with one another. And the more my students connect with one another, the more empowered they become to practice the language in class. So think about this. Again, we're using this as warm-ups for a warm-up, teachers, but I want you to think about how else could I use this in my classroom? Let me give you two examples, and then I'll ask you to share an example that comes to your mind. One way that I could do it is I could have 8, 10, 6 vocabulary words we're working on. I give my students this die, real die or digital, and I ask my students, every time you roll a die, use that word in a sentence to practice your vocabulary, talking about what we just read. Second example, I'm teaching science, and I'm teaching parts of the animal cells, and I've got 8 really critical things I want my students to know. You know, cell membrane, mitochondria, ribosomes. They roll a die, and they have to point to a picture of a cell and identify that part of a cell. Those are 2 examples I'm giving you, Blush. Blush and everyone else, whether you do it through chat or if you're brave enough to unmute and share with us, how could you use this technique with your learners? Anybody want to share?
Miss Rihanna, you'd like to share something?
Well, technically, I don't do a regular ed teaching. I'm an inclusion teacher. So basically, we do love to have this kind of games like for our like a do now. We have one question, and then sometimes we have multiple choice. And this dice thing is a very good like an introduction to a very specific lesson, right? It increases
Mhm.
student engagement, and they make more like, oh, it's a new thing for them, so they'll be more interested to learn. So I think I can do that in my class too for that one.
Oh, yeah,
What
that's a
about
good
you, Miss
idea.
Wang? What about you, Miss Wang? Wang, Vicente, what can you say about that one? Using dice in science classes.
Yeah, I think it's a good kind of game or kind of interactive activity for my students that they can engage with their knowledge, and they can, they will be able to have more fun doing the activity, especially in teaching science. I think I'm gonna use this one this coming week for my, my students, so that they can be more participative, because sometimes they think that they don't want to join anyway, for some reason, because they said, we did that last time. So I think this one is a new game, so I better use this one. So thank you for sharing this with us.
All right, let's hear one more person, and we'll talk about this a little more. Maria, you want to tell us how you might use it?
I think Miss Mildred is raising her hand.
All right.
I just want to share one of the activities that we have in school.
Mm-hmm.
After the pandemic, the problem here in the Philippines is our students are too shy to participate in discussions. So what we did is that
Mm-hmm.
we prepared activities like that, groupings and pair works, wherein they can engage in the
Mm-hmm.
and speak in front of the class, and we have
Mm-hmm.
preferences. For example, if you wish to go to a certain place, what place would that be, and why do you like it? So it's a kind of game that
Mm-hmm.
everybody participated very well. So from that time, we have increased the speaking performance of our students there. And at the same time, build somehow confidence in them.
Yeah. Very good point, Mildred.
Thank
I
you.
mean, number one, as we know as educators, you get better at math by doing math. We get better at speaking by speaking. And in fact, speaking is one of the most powerful vehicles we can use. Many of our teachers never used it, teachers, but I want you to think about this right here. If it comes out of the mouth, it will come out of the pen. This means this: if I can't get my students to practice the term orally, they will never practice the term in writing. While many years ago, our teachers probably told us that we write differently than we speak, today's student writes exactly like they speak. So if you have students that are writing at a low level, the trick is always to get them to speak the way you want them to write. If it comes out of the mouth, it comes out of the pen. And what Mildred's saying is right. For many of our students who are shy, this means they need more exposure to these activities and not less exposure. It's helping them cultivate a little comfort with discomfort that at the end of the day will turn them into responsible, autonomous learners.
I think Heron also raised his hand earlier,
Yes,
Mr. John.
Aaron.
Hello. I'm just going to give my opinion about how to use the dice in the room.
Yeah.
I think if I'm going to teach a new vocabs to my students. So I think I'm going to assign each word in every number. Then after that, if they're going to roll a die, whatever comes the number, that will be the vocab that they're going to share to their classmates.
Perfect. What a
Yes.
great way to randomize it. What a great way to ensure students are staying on their toes. If I always know what's going to be said, I'm more likely to disengage, and the randomness, the gamifying of it, makes me a little more engaged. Good point, Heron. So, teachers, I want you to think about one final point. And oftentimes, as educators, we think about the four domains of language, or the four skills, the four language skills that we need, Miss Vicente. to own the language. Speaking is one of them. Listening is one of them. What are the other two? You want to fill in the blanks for us, Miss Vicente? We got speaking, we got listening. What are the other two things we got to be able to do with language?
I think it should also be in
Yeah.
writing
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
speaking, listening, and can't remember the other one. Maybe others. Maybe Edric could share.
The other the other one is
Reading, yeah, reading
Reading.
That's
also.
right.
Reading
It's
and
exactly,
Reading.
Edric. Now, I want you guys to think about this because something tells me your teachers that you had were really similar to the teachers that I had. And if you look at the four domains of language, folks, two of those are God given. Two of those, if you are born healthy, you are born being able to do. Two of those skills, out of speaking, listening, reading, and writing, were created by human beings. So think about that, folks. And somebody tell me, what are the two natural skills in that set of four skills? What are the ones we're born being able to do?
speaking,
Speaking's one, and what's speaking's friend?
listening.
Yes, Edric. Exactly. Speaking and listening are the natural skills. Doesn't it make sense to go from the natural to the unnatural? Not the other way around. In fact, folks, I guarantee 90% of the time when you have to reteach something, all you've got to do is ask yourself this question: did it come out of my mouth only? Or did it also come out of my students' mouths? Because if it comes out of their mouth, it's going to come out of that pen. If I can't get it to come out of the mouth, it's never going to come out of the pen, teachers. When's it ever been different? So how does this help us in terms of classroom management and in terms of boosting our students' responsibility and autonomy? Well, this little warm-up that we shared, even though we had a few technical problems, is encapsulates all of the things we want our students to do. Take charge of their learning by asking questions, answering questions, and we give them a tactile tool to help them out. The next thing that we do that we've already discussed is we also put them in groups. It takes the heat off of them. Students are way more apt to connect with one another in small groups than they are in larger groups. Even though teachers, our teachers, the people who taught us, rarely did this. Fact of the matter is, Bernardino, we know way more about how the brain works today than our teachers did yesterday. We should use that knowledge to help us design and deliver the most effective lessons possible. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, folks. Jason, I hope I didn't take up too much of your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. John. No, it's all fine. We learned a lot from you, Mr. John. Thank you very much for being with us. Do you guys have questions for Mr. John? Anyone? You can use the Q&A feature here in the
Yes,
Meet if
definitely.
you have, or you might send your question here in the chat box.
Sounds
We'll try our
good.
best to like address it.
Great. And as you do this, Jason, I'm going to leave and come back so I can fix my problem here. Be back in 2
Yes,
seconds.
Mr. John. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, let me share my screen again for the next one. Our second speaker was not able to like join us today, so I guess we're gonna have the third one instead. He is Mr. RPM Castelloni. Did I pronounce it right, Mr. RP?
Yes.
Okay, he is from Barangay Halayhayin, Pililia, Rizal in the Philippines. He is currently residing here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, United States of America. He is a middle school special education teacher um, in Christine Duncan Heritage Academy. That's in Albuquerque Public Schools, Albuquerque, New Mexico, USA. He is a licensed professional teacher in the Philippines and a level 3A instructional leader, certified special education teacher in the state of New Mexico, USA. For the information of everyone, level 3A is the highest rank here of teachers in New Mexico, USA. He has a degree in Bachelor of Elementary Education, specialized in content courses, general education. He also finished his two master's degrees in educational management and special education. He has been in a teaching profession for 14 years. At present, he is currently enrolled in New Era University in Quezon City for his doctorate in special education. He is the newly elected president of Unified New Mexico chapter last December 2023. Congratulations, sir. He is also one of the lead authors of a published book this 2023 entitled Inspiring Stories of Filipino Teachers in the United States of America, Remarkable Experiences, Memoirs, and Introspections. Everyone, let's welcome Mr. RPM Castelloni. Mr. RP.
Hello po. Hello po. Good morning there in the Philippines and good evening here in New Mexico. In general in USA. So first of all, thank you so much, Sir Jason, for inviting me to be part of this webinar. So I was tasked to share something about inclusion. So let me share my screen first. So once again, I'm RPM Castellone from here in New Mexico. And back in the Philippines, I'm from Pililla Rizal, Philippines. So I've been in special education for more than 4 years. I mean, it's not that long experience, but I could say that I am capable of doing my job as a special education teacher. So the first question is, what do you mean by inclusion? What does it mean? I know most of you have an idea about inclusion, and might be some of you have still questions like, how does it look like? Who are the teachers teaching the students under special education? Or how do the students get qualified for inclusion or inclusive education, or basically in special education? So while having our presentation, I want you guys to have this skill that when you when we finish our presentation, you can easily identify a particular scenario in your classroom that you're gonna say, oh, that's something inclusion. That is something related to special education. Okay. So a real quick background for special education. IDEA here in USA is a law. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. So basically, IDEA is a law that protects and supports special education all throughout of United States of America. So we have these 6 principles of um, individuals with disabilities educational act. So the first one is, of course, like for example, you want to engage yourself in special education, or you are concerned with someone who has this capability or characteristic of um, being identified as special education students. So you have to have idea about the free appropriate public education. So this is a law here in the United States, and we all know that students under special education program, they have this what we call the IEP. Then later I'm going to talk about more about it. Okay. Then since inclusion or special education in general here in US is part of the law, so of course we follow due process. So once the students is part of the special education program, basically we have to engage the parents. So we have to inform the parents. We have to let them know that that the students are part of a special education program. So in here, parent and students participation in decision making. So here in, I don't know, in the Philippines, because back in the Philippines, we had special program for 2 years only. We don't have enough proper implementation of it. But when I came here in USA, I learned a lot of things about special education. So the parents have vital role for the students' IEP. So we cannot do IEP meeting, we cannot do IEP without the parents' consent. So basically, if the parents are not part of the IEP, that's gonna be a mess. That's gonna be a problem. So basically, always include parents in making IEP of a child or a student. So it says here the non-discriminatory identification and evaluation. So sometimes we don't know how to get qualified for special education. But in some of the school, for some reasons, we have this stigma that sometimes we discriminate people because of their family background, because of their race, because of their physical appearance. So since this is the law, we are not having this discrimination to students. So everyone deserves to be evaluated or assessed if needed. Okay. Then we have this least restrictive environment. So in here, we have a lot of educational or special education program setting where we have the general education classroom, we have this the pull out, push in, we have this homebound, we have this exclusive school for special education. So now I'm giving you different types of special education setting that I have experienced and learned while teaching here in USA. So we have these different settings. The first one is the push-in service, the pull-out service, inclusive, exclusive, a specialty, and residential. Okay, let's dive into one-on-one, I mean one by one, push-in service. So basically, this one is about when a teacher or other service professional visits a general education classroom to support a student. So basically, this is one of my jobs here. I'm doing push-in. So if I have students in one particular grade, I'm gonna visit the student and support him or her inside of the regular classroom. So that is what we call the push-in service. The second one, so I'm not going to discuss the advantage and disadvantages because I have 10 to 15 minutes to talk, okay? So the second one is the pull-out service. So this one is when you get the students out from the regular classroom, then you have a one-on-one session in your classroom. So basically when you get the students out from the regular classroom, that is pull-out service. Okay, so it can be one-on-one, or if you want to have three or more students, that's fine. So we call it here in USA as pull-out service. Then so basically the difference between pull out and push in. So uh when you enter the regular classroom, that's a push in. When you get the students out from the regular classroom, that is a pull out. Okay. So we have this inclusive education or self-contained setting. So this one is very popular in the Philippines because we have this special program, but we we catered all the different disabilities that we have in just one classroom. So that is what we call the self-contained or inclusive education setting. So as you can see here, in the picture, there's a teacher, and the students in there are students with different disabilities. So that is what we call the self-contained. And exclusive education. So here in US, we have this, like for example, we have one institution that caters students with autism only. Like for example, there is a school or agency that caters students with Down syndrome. So that is what we call the exclusive education. So let's say that's a big institution that caters different disabilities. So here, I know you are familiar with this one, mainstreaming and inclusion. So inclusion is that is the push in, pull out, the self-contained, that is inclusion in general. So, Mr., what do you mean by mainstreaming? So I'm gonna give you a good example. Like for example, I am a teacher, then I'm teaching grade 4 students. Then in another class, we have self-contained special education students. Then the mainstreaming, like for example, if the two students from special education program will be joined in the regular setting in the selected subjects only, that is mainstreaming. Like for example, si Sir Jason, example only, okay? Sir Jason is one of my students in special ed. Then he will be joined in my regular class in math only. So that is mainstreaming. So the goal of that is to, to maximize the inclusivity or the inclusive education that we have here in the Philippines and the USA. So basically, trying to integrate or join the students from special ed to experience the regular setting in selected subjects areas only. Now, so we have these 5 areas of specialty in special education. So basically, these are the common that we can hear in our daily living or in your school. So we have this gifted and talented students education. We all know that gifted is also part of the special education program. So I have experience handling one student under this one, and the sad thing I'm not exposed or I don't have enough experience teaching children who were identified gifted. So it's really hard because you're gonna be preparing something advanced for them. Okay, so the second one is early intervention. So here in US, it's very visible. It's very, I mean, it's a regular thing for them. At early age, they have this early intervention there where they are going to identify the students if they are having this characteristic of being, a special education students. But there in the Philippines, it's, I don't know. I don't have experience back there. Like we don't have assessment or early identification of students who are potential of being part of this program special ed. Then the applied behavior analysis. So in particular, behavior is always part of the academic performance of the students. So it's also one of the reasons why the students showing disability. Okay, so this is really part of the special education program that we have to have in our process to identify students with disability. And the fourth one is the visual impairment. So this one is very common. If we know students with visual disability or impairments, automatically they are part of the program. Okay. Then the last one is the audio impairment. So those students who are deaf, so we are teaching them the sign languages, but I don't know how to do the sign languages. Okay. So basically, students who are deaf or have this hearing impairment, so those are automatically part of the program. So special education inclusion program. So as you can see here, um, in real classroom setting, special education here in US is very serious thing. It's not an intervention. It's not just a program. It's really part of the educational system of USA. So special education is done as regular education. So of course, the students who is identified as special education, he or she will be supported by the staff, parents, and the admin of the school. So, as what I have said a while back, mainstreaming special education students, this one is in my school, we don't have mainstreaming. We have inclusion only. But I know in the Philippines, in one of my schools, I mean, I already experienced having this mainstreaming. During my first year teaching of experience, I'm teaching fourth grade. Then some of the special education teachers um, bring some students from SPED program, then I'm teaching them in social studies and math. So I was like, why do they have this subject only? Yes, and we call it mainstreaming. So that's the difference between inclusion and mainstreaming. So so this is the self-contained special education program. So basically, here in US, I know there are some schools that cater students with different disabilities in just one classroom. But of course, here in US, we have a lot of support for, like for example, you are two special ed teachers in one classroom. Then you have three EAs, like educational assistant. And these students are really receiving services like speech language pathology, the OT, the behavior as well. So here in US, there's a lot of services that students under special program can experience and can get because that's part of the law. So, like for example, if you have students with disability in speech, so you have to look for someone who will work on that. If you don't have speech pathologists in your school, the school needs to look for it. Okay. So, like for example, in our school, none of our, none of our school teachers, we don't have teachers who are really good in teaching gifted students. So the school made a way. They enrolled us in the school to get endorsement for teaching students under gifted. So I think this is the last one. So I just want to put emphasis in here that this most restrictive place, the homebound, like for example, we have students who are doing the homebound or homeschooling. Why, what will be the reasons why they are put in there? So maybe the students are not beneficial or not getting any benefits from regular classroom, or the students are giving problem or disruptions in regular classroom. So basically we have to identify the students needs and the students the cases. We have to identify if they are capable of doing the regular or the homebound. So basically, we are trying to um, put all the students in a regular setting or in a regular education classroom. So I think that's it, Mr. So if you have questions, feel free to ask questions.
Okay, is there anyone who has questions to Mr. John Kongsvik? He's back. And Mr. RP Castelloni? You can type it in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and raise your question here. Yes, Mr. Heron?
All right. I just want to say thank you to Mr. John for that wonderful presentation a while ago. But my question is for Mr. RP. Is it RP?
Sure.
Okay. Mr.
Yes.
RP. Do you have life skill program in your school?
I'm sorry. Come again,
Do you
Mr.
have life skill program in
Yes,
your
Mr.
school?
So in a special education program, that is one of the services that students can receive. So we have
So
this
is
occupational
this
therapist. Hmm?
is this under what kind of class? Like, is it in inclusion? Is it in pull
Inclusion,
out?
Mr. So I have students. I'm doing the pull out and the push in, and some of my students are receiving OT that focuses on life
What
skills,
what is OT means?
occupational therapy.
Oh, I see.
It's like
Also, these
the goal of that, Mr. is to teach the students how to be, like for example, how to organize his stuff, how to go to the cafeteria alone, how to
Mhm.
gather all the documents that he needed for a particular project. So that's the life skill that I'm observing in my occupational therapy.
So these are offers to which kind of students?
Yeah. So like for example, I have one student who has occupational therapy, and I also have students without their OT. So like
Oh, so
what? So
this is
Mister,
all
like for
for
example,
autistic.
if the student says a characteristic of having problem with life skills, so probably we will having the assessment if he or she qualifies for the
Okay,
OT
so there's a
service.
testing.
Yeah,
So it's not automatically if you're autistic, you're
no.
under
So
life
we have
skill.
to do
No.
the assessment or evaluation first.
But I have another question. Is all autistic under life skill program or not?
So as what I have mentioned a while back, that it depends on the student, but based on my observation, most of my students under autism, they are having OT as well.
Okay, so you're having their life skill so like
Yeah.
if you don't mind, how many kids do you have taking
So
this kind
since
of
I'm
class?
teaching middle school here, I
Uh-huh.
have 21 students in all.
Oh, there's
Then
a lot.
only four students have OT.
Oh, I see. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome, de nada. Oh, is there any question? Po, po.
Is there anyone who has questions for our guests? How about you, Miss Rihanna? Do you have question?
Yes, sir. Sir, do you have a gifted and talented education program in your school?
Are you for me, ma'am? I'm
Yes.
sorry. I'm
Mr.
sorry again.
RP, yes.
Po.
Do you
What's
have
the
a
question
GATE
again?
program in your school? Do you have a
Again,
GATE
ma'am?
program in your school?
What is it, ma'am? Gate?
Uh,
GATE program,
a
sir,
GATE
is
program?
the
That's for the gifted?
exceptional, the giftedness
Oh,
program.
yeah, that's our future plans in our school. Since we don't have students under gifted, so wala pa po.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir.
Hello,
I
sir.
have
I
a
have
question for you, RP.
Sure, Mister.
And thank you very much for that presentation. It was really informative. Um, you've got 4 years of experience working in the US educational system. Let me ask you, what's maybe one thing that if you go back to the Philippines, you learned here about special education that you would want to implement or train other teachers in doing?
Oh, I know some of my participants here will agree to me that the implementation of a special education program in the Philippines is not that regular, Mister. I
Mm,
mean, in one district, only one school has a special program. So
mhm,
if if they are going to give me a chance to be part of the educational, I mean, if be part of educate special education program staff, I'm gonna work on having each school should have special education program
mm,
because Philippines, I don't know what's wrong with us in there. It is the financial problem or the support that they are giving us because in my district only one school has a special education program. So the good thing when I left the Philippines, the special education program in the school was on process already.
mm, mm. Well, I hope you get a chance to go back to the Philippines one day and help people there. You know, what incredible
Yeah.
skills you have. Thank you.
So I thank you, Mr. So and I also want to like for example, I will go back to the Philippines on 2026. I will teach my co-teachers to to have knowledge in dealing students with academic poor academic performance. So
Mm,
like for example, non-numerates, slow readers, I'm gonna teach them how to deal with them.
great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Mr.
I guess Mr. Antonio Batulat is raising his hand.
yes.
Hello po.
Hello po. This is a question for Mr. RP. I have a question. Do you have a specific time or um, where we can say that we can assess the child that he is gifted?
Yeah.
What?
So There's no specific time, but here's the thing, Mister. Like for example, if the parent insists to evaluate his or her student, the school can do that. But like for example, in our classroom setting, like for example, Jason is a student who really struggles in math. I think we have to do the evaluation for him. So in there, like for example, if all the teachers agreed, we have to inform the parents that it is okay for you. Jason will be having the evaluation if he qualifies for special education program. So that's the time, Mister. But
How
of
about for
course,
the
always inform the parents.
gifted one? When can we say that he's ready for us?
Oh, so gifted one, we have this diagnostician person who evaluated the students. I mean, this year we have one student. He is not part of the special education program, but we thought that this student is advanced, very advanced with the I mean, as a eighth grade student, she is advanced. So what we did, the whole team informed the parents if it's okay for her to have this evaluation for gifted disability. So if the student qualifies, then she will get it. But sadly, the student did not qualify, so she's not identified as gifted.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Welcome po.
Do we have other questions? While waiting for that, I think we can have um, a sharing of his experience here in US, some of his strategies that he applied in his classroom. Let us have Mr. Antonio Batulat, a teacher at Tony in Quintana Elementary School, Española, New Mexico, USA.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, Philippines, and good evening, USA. So I am Antonio Batulot III. I'm from Sagay City, Negros Occidental, Philippines. And currently, I am a second grade teacher here in New Mexico, Tony Quintana Elementary School. So I am here to share about my ideas about classroom management and how I do it in that US classroom setting. So classroom management is the most important factor for the teacher to govern students' learning. We teachers have the power to make difference in our classroom by applying our management skills, mastery of the lesson, and practicing patterns. We impose discipline and we should be consistent in implementing classroom routines and procedures that we want inside the classroom for our student. Remember, we should be always consistent in our classroom routines and procedures. We have a different kind of students are in the US, so as a teacher, you be firm with your policies, with your rules, your routines and procedures. Remember that we are not just implementing rules and policies. It is different when we set routines and procedures for students, and we let students practice it from the beginning of the school year up to the end. Student must know from day to day how the classroom is structured and organized. Just like before going to lunch or recess, they should know what to do, like putting their chairs in, clean their table. And of course, they should also know what to do when they need help. If they are inside the classroom, what are the things that they should do? And when they are at the walking at the hall, what are they gonna do? And during the group activity, they should know what to do. And they should always know the reward and consequence of their actions. That it just like if they did something wrong, then there's a consequence of it. And then if they did something good, then there's a reward for it. So I strongly believe that a well-managed classroom has a set of procedures and routines that structure it. So in my class, I manage my classroom in a way that students involve their work, especially with their academic and a teacher-led instruction. They know what is expected from them, No wasted time, no confusion, and no any disruption during classes. And I make sure that the climate of my classroom is work-oriented but relaxed and pleasant. So that's all I can share today, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Antonio Batula. Um, I guess before we conclude our webinar, I want to express our gratitude to our speakers, Dr. John Kongsvik and Mr. R.P. Castelloni. Um, Thank you very much for sharing your precious time with us. We really appreciate your sharing your expertise, your experiences, your best practices. Thank you very much. Folks, do you still have questions so we can address them or?
So that I can cook. Just kidding. So that I can
Yeah.
prepare my dinner.
So
Just kidding.
thank you very much, Mr. John, Mr. RP. We really appreciate your presence here. Thank you very much. Can everyone please click on the form? The participants, can you please click on this link? I'm gonna send the link in the chat.
I
Um,
think Ma'am Ted has a
this is gonna
question.
be the exit ticket.
See, we have an exit ticket.
Yeah,
It's just a short
very
survey,
USA.
just like
Yes,
three,
yes.
three or four.
Mhm.
Yes,
Not so
tell-
hard questions. It's not actually questions. Actually, it's asking for some.
It's a reward. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you,
Thank you
Sir
very
John,
much.
Sir RP.
Thank you,
Congratulations, Sir
Everyone,
everybody.
keep the
Jan.
peace and
Sir
silence.
John.
Thanks for the
Sawadika,
wonderful
kokun
information.
ka. Bye-bye.
Thank you
สวัสดี
Bye,
ครั
so
บ ขอบ
everybody.
คุณมาก
much.
ครับ
Bye-bye.
สวัสดีครับ ขอบคุณมากครับ
Kapan ka?
Kapunka.
The link is already there. I sent it in the chat box.
Sir
Can you
Jason,
see it?
do I need to do that too?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. So can I
Thank you
exit
very
now?
much, Sir RP. Thank you very
Opo.
much for being with us.
Sige po, sir. Mag-out na po ako. Magluluto na mi.
Opo, salamat po ng marami.
Bye-bye.